Today what we're going to look at is graphing, actually how to write the equation of parabolas in standard form. And parabolas, of course, is something that you guys had last year, so you should be very familiar with them. This is a real-world application of parabolas. Of course, we've got a satellite dish, which is in a parabolic curve, as we would call it. So now, first off, just what is a parabola? Introduction. We've got a parabola is a set of all points x and y in a plane that are equidistant from a fixed line. We call the directrix. And a fixed point, the focus, not on the line. Now the midpoint between the focus and the directrix is the vertex. You got your vertex here, your focus here. Directrix is always behind your parabola, whereas your focus is always on the inside of your parabola. Now we got the line passing through the focus and the vertex. We call that the axis of symmetry, or the axis of the parabola. And of course, this actually, all this information, as far as this picture goes, would be on your equation sheet that you have for all the conics that we've got. So you don't need to copy that down, but you might want to make sure that you know where all the different places, all the different parts of a parabola are. Focus, vertex, directrix, axis of symmetry. Now once again, on your equation sheet you already have the formula for the horizontal and the vertical equations for standard form of a parabola. One of the things that you want to make sure that you've done, if you've got your equation sheet, make sure on the horizontal, because the one that I gave you guys, it was incorrect, the h and k should be switched. H is always with your x value, k is always with your y value, so make sure those have been switched on your sheet. Focus lies on the axis p units from the vertex. If everything, we talked about this, but if the vertex is at the origin, then the equation takes on the following form. My suggestion is just worry about these two and not all four of them, because these two take care of these two. This is just if your vertex is at the origin. Then of course h and k would be 0, 0. It would cancel out and look like this. So right now just look at these. Now the big thing to notice here is how to tell which one is vertical, which one's horizontal. Now the way I know which one's horizontal or vertical is I look at my squared term. If my squared term is x, then it's vertical. If my squared term is y, then it's horizontal. This is the only conic that does not have both squared terms, or both terms squared. So therefore, if you see it, don't do it. Now these are also on the sheet already for you. These are just showing you all the different ways that our parabola could go. If it's vertical, it's either going up and down, horizontal, left and right. If it's vertical, p is going to be greater than 0. If it's going down, p is less than 0. Going to the right, when it's horizontal, p is greater than 0. Going to the left, it's going to be, this is greater than 0, then this one's less than 0. But once again, all these are already on that sheet for you. We gave you the verticals and the horizontals. The only thing, make sure you recognize that p here, we just talked about it. P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. So let's look at our first problem here. We're going to find the standard equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and the focus at 0, 4. So if our vertex is at 0, 0 and our focus is at 0, 4, if you look at your equation sheet, you will notice that for the focus, it is h and k plus p. Now what that tells me is if we go back and look at what I've got 0, here's h, here's k. I got 0 here, 0 for k. I don't know what p is, but I know that it has to equal my 4 here. So I can find p by solving this equation here. So p here is equal to 4. Very simple. Now what we're going to look at now is just writing our equation. It's going to be x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. Plug in what you know. We got your h and k, you've got your p. Plug those into the formula here. It's going to give us x minus 0 squared equals 4 times p, which is 4, times y minus 0. Of course, this one I can simplify because I've got zeros here, and it would simplify to just x squared equals 16y. And there you have the equation of this parabola through the vertex at focus 0, 4. Now with this one, we want to find the focus given the equation of the parabola already. Now a little bit more work here. We come back to our old friend, our completing the square. So first thing we want to do is get our squared term by itself, which means we got to get rid of this negative 1/2, which if you remember, to get rid of any fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply everything here by -2 because we also got to get rid of this negative sign here, which means we're multiplying the y here, here, and all the way down here. So if we do that, that gives us -2y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 1. We're going to move our constant term over to the right side here. That's going to give us -2y plus 1 is equal to x squared plus 2x plus blank. And of course we've got a blank over here on this side. Now when we do this, when we're completing the square, we're going to half it, square it. Half of 2 is 1, 1 squared is still 1. Put those in both of our blanks. Simplify this part, you get -2y plus 2 is equal to x plus 1 squared. Now what we're trying to get this to look like is our general equation. X minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. So we've got to take care of this. We need y by itself, which means we're going to factor out this -2. So I've got a -2 times y minus 1 equals x plus 1 squared. So we've got, in here, we know what our vertex is, h, and then k. So we've got -1, 1 for our vertex. Our focus, again, being that this is vertical, is going to be h and k plus p. So that's going to give us our -1. K is 1 plus p, has to be equal to. Of course, we've got to figure out what p is. We can find that from here. -2 has to be equal to our 4p, which is in the problem up here. So 4p is equal to -2. That means we divide both sides by 4, and p is going to be equal to a -1/2. So all we're going to do is actually just plug this in here. So we got -1/2. So our focus is going to be -1 and a half for that point there. And then last but not least, we're going to look at this one, see if we can pull out our vertex, our focus, our axis of symmetry, and our directrix. Now, first thing I want to look at is what is my vertex? Vertex, being that this is a vertical, because our square term is x, is going to be -8 and 3. I want to look at this 8 here. This is in our 4p position, so 4p equals 8, so p is going to be equal to 2. So using that, once again, I'm going to go, my focus is h and k plus p. So that means I've got -8, 3, plus my 2, k plus p, gives me 5. My axis of symmetry is x equals h. H here, of course, is -8, so this would just be x is equal to -8. And my directrix is y is equal to k minus p, and all these are on your sheet that you've got. So I'm plugging in my k, which is 3, my p, which is 2, so I get y is equal to 1. So I found my vertex, my focus, my axis of symmetry, and my directrix. Very easy, very simple. Of course, what I want you guys to do is try this problem on your own. Make sure that you understand how to do this. And I will see you tomorrow.